Welcome to our review of TNA's Destination X. I'm your host, Billy Van Corbett, alongside me, Stacy Meadows, and we're two fat guys and tell you what we think.
For Destination X, the pre-show, all it was Aries talks about how good he is for like 15 minutes, and then it repeated it. And so all they pushed was the Aries Rude match, but from Aries' point of view.
No, I saw a little bit of Rude's point of view. I mean, they interviewed him for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, and all the people who came in and said, well, I think Austin Aries has worked really hard for this. You're missing out on that too.
Austin Aries, a character who's been there, what, about 2-3 months now?
No, he's been there for a year. Longest reigning X Division champion.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So basically tonight's main event was Robert Roode versus Robert Roode. And, Austin Aries. I guess
it's hard to tell apart because they have the same attitude. They're the same person with 2 different bodies.
Yeah.
One's like 2 inches shorter than the other one.
It's David versus Goliath because you got somebody from the X Division who's really, a normal person size, taking on Robert Roode, who's just a little bit bigger and also a normal person size. So it was the big guy, kinda, versus the little guy, sorta. So that's what our main event was. But let's move on. We'll go through the show for the first thing, and we'll see how it plays out.
All right. First off, they started this with the announce team of the sweet guy, JB, what's his name?
Jeremy Borash. Jeremy Borash. Yeah.
And Mike Tenay, which they're both bad announcers, really bad. Where was Taz?
Well, Mike Tenay's alright, but yeah, where were you, Taz? We missed you so much.
So we're just like 5 minutes into this, and me and him are thinking this is going to be painful, isn't it? Alright, but they started off with the X Division qualifying match. It was a 4-way match. It had Rubik's versus Mason Andrews versus Lars Only versus Dakota Darcy. And I didn't have any idea who, other than seeing him wrestle once or twice.
No,
once. Didn't have any idea who any of these people were. I mean, the characters aren't built up, nothing. So, I guess we kind of rooted for Rubik's because he kind of looked cool. It looked like he had some kind of gimmick going on. But, all in all, it was Mason Andrews who won this match. But immediately right after this match, he had a second match, Mason Andrews did, versus Kid Cash. And, Mason Andrews ended up winning this match too, but Kid Cash should have came in this match technically and just wiped the floor up with Mason Andrews because he was already tired, and Kid Cash is supposed to be one of their established wrestlers that was kind of good.
It was.
But Mason Andrews ended up winning this match too with a roll-up pin.
So basically, it was alright. The first match, so the first Fatal 4-Way match was supposed to be the second chance match, which was alright. It was an alright match. It was okay. Then, the second match, most of it was Andrews laying on the ground, pretty much getting his butt kicked until, at the end, he has a couple moves, and at the end he does this, roll-up pin, which I think he reverses Kid Cash's finishing move into a roll-up pin, and gets the victory. It was so easy to tell that was going to happen too because the match
took too long and Cash was acting way too arrogant.
Yeah. Plus, Kid Cash has been on a big time losing streak anyways. But 2, it's so they're going to give this guy a second chance and then they're going to have him lose. The whole idea is, oh look, he's got a second chance. No, wow, he might actually win the X Division title. So it was one of those kind of storylines that you could see coming from a mile away, and of course it plays into later in the night. He doesn't win the X Division Championship, which we'll get to that later, but it was one of those storylines where you knew he was going to at least make it to the fucking to the Ultimate X. Is it Ultimate X? Is that what the match is called?
Yeah, Ultimate X.
Yeah, you knew he was going to at least make it to the Ultimate X match. I mean, it was foretelling. It was boring. It was the next match. What's the next match?
Well, between the second and third match, between them, Chrissy Hemme interviewed Samoa Joe, and all he does is he picks Aries to win, and then he says he's going to beat Angle with submission for 10 points to build up in the Bound for Glory series. And then we go to our third match. Douglas Williams versus Kenny King. And Kenny King ends up winning it with his finisher. And which we were kind of upset about that because we were hoping Douglas Williams would win.
For one,
we'll get into the reason why we're like disappointed that Kid Cash and Douglas Williams more towards the end of the video.
Well, not only that, but like, okay, so like, first of all, you haven't seen Douglas Williams in forever. I can't remember really the last match he's had before tonight. And then he comes out, he loses the match, and it's just like it was one of those matches that you were watching it back and forth, and me and my brother, I'm not gonna lie, we kind of zoned out a little bit in the middle of this match, and next thing we know, Kenny King's got what's his name up in his finisher. I'm like, okay, what led up to that? Because I mean, it was just one of those matches where you're like, okay, whatever. Go ahead.
And then between the third match and the fourth match, Chris interviews Christopher Daniels, and basically they go on and on about the AJ and Christopher Daniels feud, and he just claiming that he's going to beat him later, AJ later on. Then we have our fourth match, which is also for the tournament for the X Division. And it was Sanjay Dutt versus Rashad Cameron. And Sanjay Dutt won, which I guess we were happy because he's one of those ones that's been around for a while, so like we were kind of happy that he won.
Well, he just came back recently, but we at least knew who he was. So.
Yeah, so they were like, yeah, I guess.
He won. Yeah.
And then the pay-per-view came to a screeching halt.
Yeah, no, they had to stop the pay-per-view entirely so we could find out that Jesse Soren's okay. So that's good news, I guess. I mean, Jesse Soren, I mean, a lot of people were happy tonight to see him back. I mean, the audience were cheering and stuff like that. He was one of those characters. It kind of reminds me of
he wasn't around very long when he when he got injured. I think it was like his first or second match.
No. He was around for at least 3 or 4 months before he got hurt. He came in. I want to say he came in around the same time Austin Aries made his comeback.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say. I'm not even sure about that. I can't remember exactly when he came in. But yeah, he hadn't been on TNA for that long before getting his neck broke, which, you know, I feel bad for the guy that really got his neck broke. I mean, don't get me wrong, I sympathize with the guy. I'm glad to see that he might be able to wrestle again, but he ain't one of like my favorite wrestler or anything. And I mean, you know, welcome back. It'd be nice to see you wrestle, but at the same time, it's like you could have done this comeback speech on a Thursday. You know, you didn't have to stop the pay-per-view midstream going and like just kind of like interrupt everything.
And this is something that should be shared with like the world in general, not be put on a pay-per-view in the first place.
Yeah.
So it really belonged on a Thursday show. It didn't belong on a pay-per-view where
only
a select amount of people are going to buy this pay-per-view to see it. This should have been something that was on like the normal show.
I mean, I'm sure they'll show it 100 times on Thursday anyways, repeating it like, this is what happened on the pay-per-view. But still, man, I mean, it was just one of those things that just, you know, you're expecting a match and it brings it to a screeching halt, but it kind of builds up the story for the next match because Demon Ion's the one that broke his neck, and right before Demon Ion hits the ring, he sees Jesse Sorensen and they stare, glance at each other, and he's like, ha ha ha, I broke your neck. And Jesse Sorensen's like, I'll get revenge! I'll do it! I'll get revenge! And he's like, Your neck is broken because of me, Zima Ion, and my magical hairspray. And that's what we had to look forward to. So
yeah, the whole time Jesse is wearing a neck brace too. So like I guess that's why Zima didn't bother attacking him or nothing. That's what I expected. I expected Zima, even though he was in a neck brace, to go over there and just start beating him up or something.
I don't know. Zima,
I was disappointed nothing happened.
Yeah, I was disappointed that they had that segment.
Yeah. And the fifth match we had was Zima Ion versus Casanova. And to tell you the truth, Zima Ion, going into this whole Destination X, is the only one that has a storyline of any kind at all in this. The rest of the guys are just pulling out, like just coming up with no. So of course Zima Ion wins the match.
Yay, guy that we know won. Yes.
Then in between the fifth and sixth match, Christie interviews the other three winners. All of them are claiming that they're going to be the next X champ.
Three bald guys.
Yeah, all three of them are bald. They all look exactly the same.
I mean, besides their skin tone, I mean, honestly, when you watch the Ultimate X match, I really couldn't tell who was who. They haven't been around. None of them's been around long enough to. Sanjay Dutt used to be on there, but he used to have a look that he kind of had this like Prince look from like Arabian Prince, kind of what what's his name has in the WWE? Yeah. That one guy. Shit, I don't know his name. He came out messing with Khali when he first started, and then I can't remember him, but he had the Prince, like the Arabian Prince look, and now he's just another bald guy. So, I mean, really, and I hadn't seen him in so long. So when you watch the Ultimate X match that comes on later on, there's three bald guys running around. I couldn't tell who was who until they got like really close up to him. So I couldn't even follow half the match. The only thing that was good is Zima Ion's there. And it's like, oh, look, the guy with the hair. Follow him around because I know who that is. So, but we're jumping ahead, so sorry.
Anyway, they're claiming to be the next X champ, and then Rude interrupts them all, saying that the X division and Aries is all going to fail because he's not going to let Aries win. And it cuts to the next match. This match was a good match. It wasn't like totally great, but it was a pretty good match. The sixth match was Samoa Joe versus Angle, and it was a Bound for Series Glory match.
Bound for Glory Series match?
Or Bound for Glory Series match. It's Bound for Glory Series match. And anyway,
Bound for Series Glory match.
But anyway, Samoa Joe versus Angle. It was a pretty good match.
That's really all you can say. It felt out of place, though. I mean, it was a good match, but it felt out of place because, like, this is the X Division pay-per-view, right? Every match is supposed to have something to do with the X Division, or at least be X Division stars. Okay, so Samoa Joe's a former X Division star, but this is the only Bound for Glory series match on the pay-per-view, and Kurt Angle's never been in the X Division. So it just seemed really, 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 really out of place. Because it was like, okay, this match could have happened on Thursday, and it would have been the same match. I mean, again, good match. Samoa Joe wins. He gets the 10 points like he promises. But it ain't because Kurt Angle taps out. It's because he allegedly passes out. He doesn't, like, show no signs of life for a second, and so the referee rings the bell. And then Kurt Angle's back up, and he's like, wait, why did you ring the bell? And the ref's like, you didn't respond. And he's like, bullshit. And so there's kind of a little bit of
They say something about him not raising the hand up. Like
no. Well, I said that.
That's what Angle was.
Oh, yeah, Angle says it. I think Angle signals for that, too. But, like, yeah, the ref didn't do that whole arm thing, which he should have done. But the ref just called the match, and then Kurt Angle's like, you know, what the hell are you doing? The match isn't over. I didn't submit. So, yeah, it was a good match. Had kind of an interesting story going on at the end, which you'll have to see if it plays out a little bit more between now and the next.
The interesting thing about this match is because Samoa Joe won, he is now number one in the statistics. He's beating James Storm by 1 point. I think he has 37 and Storm has 36.
Yeah.
So that put him in the lead over there. Which I'm kind of glad, because that means they're trying to build up Samoa Joe.
Yeah, we missed the old Samoa Joe.
We hate when Samoa Joe loses because it's much better.
Yeah. I mean, they, for like the last couple of years, they've had Samoa Joe do nothing but job, but it is good to see. I'm really hoping they bring the old Samoa Joe back and just like have him just start beating everybody up again, because he's a good wrestler. I want to see that. So, you know, good match, Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle. And the next match.
The next match was actually the only match that we feel that was pay-per-view quality for a pay-per-view event, and was built up to be at this pay-per-view.
Yes.
And that was the last man standing, AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels. And it was a really good match.
It was bloody.
It was actually pay-per-view quality. Both of them got busted up, bleeding. I mean, just the whole... I mean, it was a fight. You could tell that these two were just taking on each other.
There was a rock bottom through a chair. There was a... Man, the finish was gruesome. That was... Okay, so they were up on the ramp, and AJ sets him up for the Style Clash, and he like jumps off the thing and Style Clashes him through a table.
Which Daniels had set up because he was going to put AJ.
Yeah, he tries to put AJ through the table, but AJ reverses it, and then he puts Daniels through the table, and it's pretty nasty looking.
At one point, you think Daniels is going to win because Kazarian comes out and kind of throws AJ out the ring, which allows Daniels to go get the table. Yeah. But then that's the only thing Kazarian does get involved in the match. After that, it's just he threw him like off the ring and to the side for a little bit, allowed Daniels to get a chance to recover. That was all he did.
And then like I kind of forget how AJ disposes him. He does something to Kazarian.
Well, he
knocks him out of the way.
No. Daniels was going to do something to him, but AJ reversed it and threw Daniels into
Kazarian. Okay. There was a lot going on. I kind of missed that.
And then Daniels kind of started trying to make a comeback, but eventually AJ actually reversed the move Daniels was trying to do and put it into a Style Smash.
Yeah.
And then jumped off and put him to the table.
I think he was going to originally do that like double wing move he does.
Yeah.
Like through the table. Had he done that, would have been some gruesome shit. Either both ways, the Style Clash or that would have been gruesome through the table the way it was set up. It was good. I liked it. I really liked this match. This was
match.
This kind of goes to our point though, like pay-per-views, man, and what they're all about. Like this pay-per-view up to this match felt like you're watching a superstar show with wrestlers who've barely been established taking on bigger wrestlers. But the only difference is these wrestlers that barely been established are beating the bigger wrestlers. That's the only difference. And that to me, it didn't feel like a real pay-per-view until up to this match where it's like, okay, there's been a storyline built around this match. There's been, these are two established wrestlers who's been established, and they are established that much they hate each other, and they put on a match that was worthy of a pay-per-view. So this was by far the 5-star match of the show. This match, as far as I'm concerned, stole the show. It was a really great match. But unfortunately, did not save this pay-per-view. But if you watch anything on this pay-per-view, watch this match, and that's it. The rest of it, and you can kind of watch the Kurt Angle Samoa Joe match. That's a good match too. But this was the match that really stole the show for us. Really, we really liked it. And
now the bad points about this match, though, was that we've seen this feud like so many times. AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels. I mean, this feud, we're hoping with this match, this feud's over.
Yes, please.
Because they need new dance partners. They don't need a dance partner.
Well, where are you going to go from here? I mean, really, unless you have a match where the winner must kill their opponent. I mean, literally, take the other person's life to win. There's nowhere else to go with this feud. There's nowhere else. You had it go on for an entire year. It's over, TNA. Kill it. This was a great match. You ended it off on a high note. Please, TNA. Please, no more. No more between these two. If you want to continue the storyline with AJ being this bastard, have another wrestler come in. It doesn't matter who it is. Just another wrestler who was like who like dated the druggy girl or something, who's like the boyfriend of the druggy girl, come in and attack AJ Styles. It could be some new wrestler, like a former ROH star, maybe like a former WWE star that comes in and says, hey, you know, you slept with my bitch, and then like they fight. But get Daniels out of it. Or have Daniels go to the hospital and have Kazarian take over and just let it be AJ versus Kazarian with no Daniels. And then let Daniels fight someone else when he comes back. I don't care. Kill this feud. It's over. You did the best you could. It's really good ending. Kill it. It's done. Sorry. I went all the tangent there.
Alright. Between this and the 8th match, they have an Austin Aries interview. Basically, just more building up that storyline for the last match of the night. The next match was the Ultimate X match, which was Mason Andrews versus Kenny King versus Sanjay Dutt versus Zema I. I just want to say that for us, we really didn't care about this match. I mean, I guess because of the storylines we were supposed to root for Ion, but just none of these characters really have been built up. And Zema Ion is kind of a jerk, so we really don't care about him. So, other than that,
well, here's the thing about this match. The match, actually, I'm going to give the match a compliment. It started off pretty decent. It started off as a decent match. It really did. But the ending was god-awful. I mean, they looked like they were going to build the ending up to something spectacular, what was going to look like a massive train wreck, and it ended up being a fender bender. I mean, seriously. Okay, so they got two of the bald guys. I don't know, Sanjay Dutt and one of the other ones. No, Sanjay Dutt's on top. It's the two other bald guys.
King and Andrews.
King and Andrews. They're on the Ultimate X, and they grab each other's neck. And it's like they just let go of the rope, and they're like, "Oh, it's a neck breaker," but it just looked like they hugged and then fell down. It looked awful. I don't know what they were trying to do, but I guess they were going for a neck breaker, but it just looked awful, and they both fall on the thing. So then you got Zema Ion and Sanjay Dutt like on the top, and I mean on the top, like not on the like the ropes, but above the ropes,
the frame,
like on top of the X frame that holds up the ropes. And this thing. And it looks like Sanjay Dutt's gonna take this brutal fall all the way to the bottom. And what's his name? He pulls up the hairspray, he sprays the hairspray nowhere near Sanjay Dutt's eyes. I mean, it totally misses his eyes. I know you don't want to spray this stuff in somebody's eyes, but I mean, it was even close. It didn't even look like it hit his eyes. And then Sanjay Dutt like goes, "Oh, my eyes!" And then he like grabs a hole, gently falls from the rafters, and then I think he even grabs the rope on the way down and just goes, "Oh!" And then he dies. And then like he goes, "Okay," and then he climbs down and grabs the title. And it's like wow, they set up for something that looked like it was going to be like this big massive fall for 4 people, but it ends up being this like it was just a really bad ending.
And then right after the interview, Chrissy goes immediately interviews me.
And then he's like, "I dedicate this match to all my haters, and I dedicate it to you too, Jesse Soren. Ha ha ha! I'm evil. I'm so evil."
If I didn't break your neck, you wouldn't build me up.
Yeah, no. If I didn't break your neck, breaking your neck made this all possible. That's pretty much what he said. And earlier in the night, during Jesse Soren's great comeback speech, he said, "I hope Zema wins so that I can come back." Well, sorry about that. Our camera cut off. So we're just going to go ahead and get to the last match of the night. Austin Aries versus Austin Aries. Austin Aries versus Robert Roode. Excuse me.
Oh, you mean Robert Roode versus Robert Roode?
No, we already did that joke at the beginning, remember?
Oh, okay.
I was trying to be topical. But anyways, yes. Austin Aries versus Austin Aries versus Robert Roode versus somebody. Championship match that neither one of us cared about. Now, for the match itself, it was a good match, I guess. I mean, I didn't care who won because both of these wrestlers that we said at the beginning is like the same guy, pretty much.
Too much alike, so there's no chance for a new storyline.
Well, this is the way I see it. So, basically, the way I look at Austin Aries' gimmick, I mean, they both pretty much started off the same. They're we're too good for everybody else. We've beaten everybody. We can beat anybody. That's their storyline. The only difference is that somewhere along the line, Austin Aries grew a set. So Austin Aries is Robert Roode if Robert Roode grew a set. Because Robert Roode's always trying to run from his challengers, where Austin Aries is more braver, but they still talk the same shit. They're better than everybody. They're the greatest man in the world, or the it factor of professional wrestling. It's pretty much, they just spew the same lines, but just a little bit differently. So they're both very bland and boring characters. I mean, the sad thing is they both have potential. I've seen Robert Roode do a lot better than he has since he's been world champion. I mean, before he was world champion, he was actually kind of entertaining. Austin Aries can be funny sometimes, but not much anymore. They just both talk about how good they are. They don't have no character. They're just boring. They're just like people in suits and ties, you know.
And it's like hard to root in this match because like their storylines are so similar. Like you'd want to root for someone else with a different storyline, and their storyline is so similar. It's just like, well, whoever wins, we're continuing this storyline, so I really don't care.
So it's basically like whoever wins this match. So Robert Roode takes on faces. So that means he's fighting all the faces and stuff. Now that Austin Aries is the champion, we're going to start seeing heels become #1 contenders. So now it's all the heels versus Austin Aries. But it's basically, it's going to be the guy coming up there saying why he's the greatest in the world, why he won't lose the championship. And then, of course, they fight, and then more than likely he'll keep the title until some other jackoff comes along and that thinks they're better than everybody, and they'll win the title, I guess. I don't know.
And if anybody was going to beat Bobby Roode, which, by the way, Austin Aries did win. He's a new champion.
Yeah.
If anybody was going to beat Bobby Roode, I really wanted to be at the last pay-per-view, or not really the pay-per-view. It was the
Open Fight Night, like
Open Fight Night a month ago, where AJ challenged him because it was for AJ's record of holding the title the longest. I really wanted AJ to win. For one, it would be a different storyline with AJ being champion again. And plus, two, I felt that he would have redeemed himself being that, champion again and having a chance to do it again. That's what I wanted personally as a fan.
Yeah, but plus the storyline going into this really was nothing special at all. I mean, besides the fact Austin Aries had to give up the X Division Championship, I mean, that's the whole storyline building up to it. Will Austin Aries give up the championship so he can go after the world title?
And because his storyline was pushed, it was more or less a classic ending where you kind of predicted that he was going to win anyway, because just the way the storyline was going.
Yeah, because like you look at it and it was about like every time there was a confrontation between there was only like 3 confrontations really between Roode and Austin Aries that I can remember, and all of them were the bland, oh, why don't we do this right now? Let's fight right now. Oh my God, let's do it now, can't wait, do it now. Oh, we gotta wait for the pay-per-view. Okay. Let's do it now. No. Pay-per-view? Okay. Do it now. No. Pay-per-view? Okay. And then someone's music played. That was their storyline. It was boring. The match was okay.
The match was okay. It kind of had a little bit of controversy towards the end, but not really.
No, because he kicked out.
I mean, he tried to cheat using the... Bobby Roode tried to cheat using his title, and at one point the referee was down and he did a low blow. So there was a little bit of cheating involved. But in the end, Austin Aries got him with his brain buster move.
Yeah, it was boring. It was not good. And so
overall, this pay-per-view, we rated a 2.5 brain busters.
Yeah, we give it 2.5.
And a few of our reasons for giving it such a low rating was that for the first thing was that there was too many new people who weren't built up enough and didn't really make us as fans care about them. I mean, they just threw them out there. There's these new people. Also, a lot of these new people that they bring out that don't have any kind of character to them. They're basically the same people. And by character, I mean like any kind of thing that makes them a little bit different or unique. Like Like, for instance, Rhino. Someone like Rhino was a character. Someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin, he had a personality. Someone like, even in TNA, like Jay Lethal, who was copying kind of another character, the Macho Man, but still, he was doing it in his own unique way, and he said it was because he was a big fan of the Macho Man. He developed his own character. You know, and it's people like that, all these new people coming in, and WWE's got kind of getting this problem too, is that they don't have no character to them. They're just like, my name's Joe Blow, and I can wrestle, and I'm strong, and I'm a high flyer. Oh. Yeah, Ryback doesn't have no character. People like, now Sandow, he kind of has a character. He's kind of characteristic.
Well, no, Damon Sandow has a big character. The reason I think you bring up Damon Sandow is because we were talking before this review, we were saying that, like, you know, like okay, so like in WWE, someone like Damien Sandow just broke into WWE. He's been in there for like 2 months. He's been developing this character. 2 months before he even came on and started wrestling, he was doing little promos and stuff like that. So he's been around like in the back for a while, and now he's getting his first pay-per-view match. So they built him up before putting him on a card. And WWE is pretty good about it most of the time, building someone up before they ever even put them on a pay-per-view.
Now, there is a few wrestlers that have been around that don't really have much of a character. Like, for instance, Evan Bourne and Kofi Kingston. All they are is just high flyers. They don't really have a character. They just go out and they just high fly. I mean, that's good. I mean, they've been around for a while. They established that that's what they could do. But other than that, we don't know anything about them, really. And that's why it upsets us, kind of like Kofi Kingston is now kind of teamed up with R-Truth. R-Truth has an amazing character. We really like R-Truth a lot. But just teaming him up with Kofi Kingston, it's like, huh.
Yeah, and really, I'm not trying to be, controversial here, but, I mean, the only thing Kofi Kingston and R-Truth have in common is they're both African American. That's it. Yeah. I mean, that's really the only common characteristic the two have, and they put them as a tag team. But we're really sidetracking here. One of the things I was talking about, though, when we were watching this, is the reason you get a pay-per-view is because you want to see storylines or something either come to an end or come to a boiling point where it's like, okay, now either the game's going to change from this point on in the story, and they're going to have their last match at the next pay-per-view, or it's building up to something greater, A lot of these matches, tournament matches are fun, like if the tournament's like the King of the Ring or something like that, but even those matches, they try to build up something to make you actually care about who's going to become the King of the Ring or who's going to become the X Division champion. Even though Demon Ion won this thing, and he was the character that had a kind of a background going into it that we knew of, they didn't do nothing with him for like the whole month. I don't remember any matches with him leading up to Destination X, between Destination X and the last pay-per-view, Slammiversary. I don't remember anything that he did between.
And actually, going back to the storylines point, there was only one real storyline on this whole pay-per-view, and that was during the AJ Daniels match. They had an awesome storyline going into it. Not an awesome, but they had a storyline going into it. The only thing that ruined that match is that they fought like 12 million times.
Yeah, yeah.
But the storyline, well, it wasn't really awesome. It was about that affair, which kind of sucked,
but it was something. It was
a storyline. The only other, they had some like half storylines, I guess, with like Samoa Joe and Angle. That has kind of a storyline because back when me and him started watching TNA, that was the big feud at the time when we really started getting into it. And we've seen a couple of the local shows, and we're like, "Hey, we got to check this out and like try to keep track of it." And it was a really good match too, but at the same time, it was decent, but it wasn't a great match. And then the only other storyline besides Zima Ion was Aries and Rude, and that wasn't really a storyline. That was just them saying how cocky they were and how they were going to win.
Exactly.
And that wasn't really a storyline. And the rest of the matches didn't really have any kind of storyline at all to it. So it was like, really, this is a pay-per-view? It didn't feel like a pay-per-view because nothing was... really being built up, and nothing was really being resolved.
No, and like I said, it's like you're watching kind of like a reverse Superstars, where you got someone that's with a name taking on someone that doesn't have a name, and the only difference this time is the person that doesn't have a name is winning the matches, and it's like, I don't know, like I said, man, the three people who were like kind of either Sanjay Dutt, who's coming back, and the two new guys, all had bald heads. I couldn't keep track of who they were. I mean, it's just, you know, this was a really a lousy this was a lousy show for a pay-per-view. And I'm sorry, I know you TNA fans, I know a lot of you love the X Division, and maybe for hardcore wrestling fans, they know who these people are because they follow all these other organizations, but, you know, we don't have the time to, you know, go and scout out all these other little wrestling organizations. So, you know, if we're watching a show, you know, you build up the characters on your show. You can't build up characters based on what they did on another show unless it's like they come from the WWE, and even then you shouldn't do that either, because you need to establish characters for your show, who they are for your show, and they did that with none of these people except for having one match and saying, oh, look, they can fly. And, you know, that's it. That's all they really talked about. Like, oh, they all have these, you know, and that was another thing that kept getting on my nerves. What's his name? The main guy, not JB, but what's his other name?
Oh, Mike Tenay.
Mike Tenay, constantly, all the night. Well, they all have their own unique stuff. No, they don't. They all freaking wrestle like cruiserweights. And they have like one submission hold. That's not a unique style. I've seen that style done a million times. So you're not selling me on that. And I was not impressed with, I mean, some of the moves were cool, yes, but, you know, I mean, and I used to like the X Division. I'm not against the X Division. I'm not saying the smaller guys shouldn't wrestle, but, I mean, these are just, you watch them and you got no investment in it whatsoever. I mean, okay, so there's two really good high flyers fighting. If I don't know who they are and I don't care who wins, it's going to be really hard for me to get into the match, and that's what this was. I mean, you might watch this pay-per-view and say all these matches were really good, but I had no investment in it. And if you're a hardcore wrestling fan and you knew these guys from other shows or from other things, you know, good for you. I'm glad. But for us, this was just boring. A lot of these matches we had no investment in, except for the three main ones.
Samoa
Joe, Angle,
AJ Styles, Daniel,
and Aries and Rude. And even Aries and Rude, we didn't have that much investment because we hate both of the characters. So, I mean, it was overall. So overall, really, there was only really two matches that I even halfway cared about. Yeah. Oh, and there was no knockout match, which if you watch big knockout. Yeah, if you go back and watch some of our former videos, you'll see that we like the knockouts, we like the divas, which I know a lot of wrestling fans out there don't, but we do, and we like the knockouts a lot. And being no knockout match was also kind of a downer for us, but you know. When we rate a show, we start a show at 3 automatically. It's already automatically earned the 3, and depending on how it goes, it either loses ground or it gains ground. And it lost a lot of ground. We almost rated this a 2 until those two matches that we liked came up, and then it got like a 2.5, and then the last part we were like, and we just left it at a 2.5. So I mean, It wasn't fun for us. It was painful. And where was Taz? I want to know where Taz was, because Taz would have probably brought this up a little bit, or at least made the commentary more enjoyable. I do not like Jeremy Borash. I'm sorry. If you're a Jeremy Borash fan.
It was like a lot of the main head people was gone, because like Hogan wasn't even.
Yeah, Hogan. It's like all
Dixie
the big
Carter wasn't even.
Yeah, like all the big management people, they were gone. They didn't care. So TNA didn't even care about their own show. They even show up. What do you expect? I mean, your biggest name there, well, besides the world champion, was like AJ Styles, kind of. Well, actually, no, Kurt Angle was there too, but Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, and I mean, you had, like I said, 3 good matches out of 9.
People.
There was 9 matches, and only 3 of them were any good. So, well, that tells you a lot right there. So,
yeah.
That's our review, guys. If you hated it, sorry. You know, write your nasty comments. in the thing. Go ahead. You just tell us we're fat. Whatever. Don't give a shit. But I mean, that was our review. We didn't like it. I hope you at least see where we're coming from. But if you don't, you know, good for you. I mean, put whatever you want in the comments. Rate the video however you want it. But we're just telling you what we think. From our perspective, we didn't like the show. We're hoping their next pay-per-view is better. It's Hardcore Justice. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of brutal hardcore matches. That might be fun. We're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to see what they do with that. But as far as
you have some women matches,
one, they always they should,
one.
You know, we expect at least them to have one woman's
knockout match. Come on,
knockout match. But yeah, it was not a good show.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, people.
Bye.
Bye.